Just a pilot in his cockpit seated. Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated.
Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. Today I've gotten this request for this video for quite a few people, so I'm going to make it today. We're going to talk about what I paid for my Charger ScatPack. So this is a 2017 Dodge Charger ScatPack. As you can see, it's got the 392 Hemi, and it's got quite a few options on it. I think most options. The only option that I didn't actually get was the Dynamics package, meaning I have the smaller brakes. I don't have the huge ones that comes with the Dynamic package. I would have loved to have the Dynamic package, but it was unfortunately, not that I couldn't afford it, it was just that there weren't any cars with all the options I was looking for that also had the Dynamics package. So it was kind of sucked. It was really hard to find this car. I was specifically looking for a 17 and not an 18 because the 18s were a lot more expensive. Most dealerships were trying to kind of liquidate the 17 since the 18s were out. So I got a much better deal by getting a 17, and the changes were, I don't know what the changes were. As far as I could tell, it was the same thing, so I didn't want to like really bother with getting an 18 when I can get a 17 at a really good price. So first off, let's take a look at the sticker for the car. So this is the sticker that was on the car. As you can see, the base price on a Dodge Charger ScatPack is just $39.95. So that's a good price. So that's what a lot of people get, and I don't blame them, because for 40 grand, this is an amazing car, given that all the performance that I have here, you would get for that $39.95 price. So for 40 grand, you can get a car that'll do mid-12s and 4-door, safe, like everything's good about it. But of course I wanted, I was kind of merging my Cadillac, which was obviously a really luxurious car, super easy to drive, a daily driver. I drove the Cadillac far more than I drove the WRX. As you know, I crashed the Cadillac at one point in the rain, and that's what prompted me to buy the WRX, and that's why I got a base model WRX where I was trying to get the cost down as low as possible, because I was worried that they weren't going to total out the Cadillac, which they ended up not, and I was going to end up with two cars, which I did for better part of a year, or about a year. It wasn't a big deal. It just means I was paying a lot more money than I had anticipated, which is why this car here is saving me a bundle of money compared to what I was paying for two cars. So I know, no brainer, two cars is more expensive than one car, you know, duh. So that's why this car had to be everything. It had to be a perfect daily driver, had to have all the options, had to have leather, cooled seats, all the stuff that I was used to, that I wanted to continue to have. As far as the options on this car, as you can see, it's yellow, and these are all the standard equipment. So it comes with these Brembo brakes, that's standard. All the basic stuff on the car is standard: power door locks, remote start, all that. So that comes with the car always. The options that this car has is of course the Alcantara suede seats, and heated and cooled front seats, heated second row seats, heated steering wheel, mesh interior accents, which I don't even really know what that looks like, and a illuminated rear cup holder, which is of course one of the biggest deals you can have. Other options is the Beats audio group. The Beats actually sounds pretty good. It's not like the world's best stereo or anything, but I think for this just being a Charger, the stereo sounds pretty good. I don't really have any desire to upgrade the stereo. It sounds quite well. It has plenty of bass. It has a little crappy subwoofer in the back, but it sounds quite good. This is really the option that was hard to find, and why I ended up having to drive down to Maryland to buy this car. So this is the technology group, and this is not common on these cars. You can find cars with them, but it's pretty rare. And that has the blind spot and crash path detection, adaptive cruise control with stop, which is of course this little radar unit in the front. And what that does is it actually monitors the traffic ahead of you, so you can turn on the cruise control in traffic and it'll slow down the car, speed up the car, even stop the car. Here in Houston, I drive in traffic quite a lot, so that option makes it so much easier to drive the car. Like basically all you have to do is steer. It is absolutely perfect at slowing down, at speeding up, at basically doing all of the repetitive motion in traffic that makes it suck. Then of course it has full speed forward collision warning, which if a car pulls out in front of you or something, that like basically will slow down the car if it needs to, which is actually a really good safety thing. It comes on a couple times when like a car is like switching, like slowing down to turn or something like that, where it's going to be out of the way but the car doesn't realize it, so it starts like panicking and telling you, and it'll even stop for you. But it's like one of those situations where you're anticipating that you know the car is going to be out of the way by the time you reach it, but the car doesn't know it. So there's a couple annoying aspects of that, but all in all, it's, I think, a good feature to have. Actually, yesterday I was driving and I was looking at my phone, not paying a whole lot of attention, and it actually stopped the car, or it alerted me that a car in front of me had abruptly stopped. Not that I probably would have seen it on my own, but good feature to have. Then lane departure warning, which just keeps you in the lane, which is a really cool feature to have. And then of course automatic head beams. What else? Automatic wipers. Just a bunch of automatic stuff. Auto dimming. Auto adjust reverse mirrors. It like puts them down when you go in reverse. Memory seats. And just that sort of stuff. And then of course it has the bi-function HID projector headlamps. So it does have HIDs from the factory. That's called the driver confidence group. And then of course it has a sunroof. And then it has of course the big Uconnect screen, which is a 8.4 inch display and navigation. And it of course came with those 20 inch 9 inch wide Hyper Black 2 forged aluminum wheels. And of course those aren't on the car anymore. They're sitting in my garage, which I'm going to list them for sale one of these days when I get around to it. I only had those on the car for I don't know, like 3,000 miles, and then I switched to these awesome Hellcat replicas with much wider tires to help the traction situation. So this is all the options I got on the car. The only option that I didn't get, of course, is the dynamics, and that gave a total price of $48,960. So that's what we're working on as far as what the car stickered for. About 49,000. Quite a bit of money. You know, if you consider like this Charger is nearly 50 grand and it's not even a Hellcat. So the Hellcats do get up there in price too once you option them out like this. But a lot of people just get base model because they're just worried about the performance and not really, you know, having a plush daily driver, which, you know, to each his own. So now I'm going to show you what I actually paid for the car. So again, I'm going to show you the financing as well. I know a lot of people are that's like really taboo. They don't want to disclose exactly what they paid or what they're paying for financing. But, you know, I don't really see any reason to hide that. Like, I'll show you exactly what I paid, exactly what everything cost. The price on the car that I actually got was $40,000 even, like $40,000 and some change. So that's roughly $9,000 off of the MSRP, which is quite a really good deal. And that's also why I had to drive to Maryland, because they had not only the best deal, but they had this car with this options in yellow. And I really wanted yellow, and yellow is not a popular car for Chargers whatsoever. So the only way I was going to be able to find a car that had everything I wanted was to go to Maryland. So you're gonna, when you consider these numbers, you're gonna have to consider the fact that I took a plane ride to Maryland, which was, I think, $150. I stayed in a hotel for a night, which is about $100, and then I drove all the way back, which I think I determined was right around $150 to $200 in gas, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you know, you can add roughly, you know, $500-ish for just getting the car back, let alone the fact that I put 1,500 miles on my brand new car, which I wasn't really too concerned about. The deal warranted it and made it worth it, in my opinion. So we have $40,000 for the car, and then of course once you get down to tax, title, and license and all that good stuff, that brought the total financed price to $44,075, and that also includes a $800 gap payment because I got gap insurance. Now, I didn't put anything down on this car, and I know there's a lot of opinions on whether or not you should put money down on a car. Part of my mindset when I purchased this car, my WRX had just flooded and I was looking for another car. I'm about to purchase this and drive it 1,500 miles home. If I got into an accident in that 1,500 miles, or if anything happens in the first couple years that I own the car, all the down payment that I had would basically go in the trash. To me, getting the gap insurance was critical, and not paying anything down was critical, because to me it minimizes my risk. If anything happens to the car, like, I've never had a car totaled in that manner before, so I've kind of learned a little bit from the lesson that you kind of need to manage your risk, and putting a whole bunch of money down isn't necessarily the smart thing to do. So then on top of that, as you know, my house flooded, so I needed all of my available cash to pay for the house, which is another nightmare that I will leave for another day. So $44,000 and some change, $44,075 is what the car was out the door, with tax, title, license, and that $800 gap insurance. With that, I financed it for, you'll see here, I financed it for 75 months with an APR of 5.79, and my monthly payment is $703. So you might be saying, like, hey David, on a brand new car, 5.79, that's really high interest, and 75 months, it's kind of a long time, which it is. But one of the things you have to keep in mind is that when I purchased this car, I had three other car loans. I have a loan on my wife's car, I had a loan on the WRX, and I had a loan on the Cadillac. So I had 3 other car loans. So this was essentially my 4th car loan that I was getting. So as you can imagine, when you already have 3 cars that you're paying for, the insurance, or the loan companies aren't really willing to lend you money really cheaply, because it's kind of higher risk. Because obviously if you have that many cars, you're probably going to be fine with letting this latest one lapse in case you run into some financial problems or something. I wasn't worried about that. I really didn't care what I financed it for. My big concerns was that it was going to be no money down, and that the payments weren't going to be all that much. So my payments on the Cadillac were actually a lot higher than this. So at the end of the day, I'm still saving a whole ton of money. And as soon as those other 2 loans are off of my credit, for the WRX and for the Cadillac, then my credit score will improve a little bit, and then I can refinance this car and get a lower rate. So it was just a temporary thing. I didn't really care what I paid. I just needed it to be no money down and not like an astronomical amount. And $700 a month isn't bad for for a $40,000 car or a $50,000 car, depending on how you look at it, with no money down. So there you go. So yeah, so that's basically it. My payment is $703, and that's what I paid for this car. Just to give you a quick little tour of it. Keep in mind it's going to be a mess, because all my cars are a mess. You can see it has these, I know it's kind of dark, it has these nice Alcantara suede and leather seats. They're actually really comfortable. They have big bolsters in them. It holds you in the seat well. I did take the car to the track, and that was in the last video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put the link in the description. Ran 12.6s. And here's the back seat. Again, I don't know how well the camera's picking this up, but here's the back seat. Fits my 2 car seats in it quite well. Everything's good. I mean, the kids like it. They have plenty of room. One of my favorite things about this car is just how well I fit in it. As you know, I had the WRX before, and I had the Cadillac before. The Cadillac was a 2-door, and it was, big for being a 2-door. So I felt I fit quite well in that car. It had really long seats. Basically made the seat behind me unusable, but it wasn't that big of a deal because my kids didn't ride in it very much, and I had my WRX also, so it was fine. But in this car, I mean, I am 6'3". I weigh about 220 pounds. So I'm somewhat of a big dude. And often in cars, especially if you're in a small car, and anyone who's talking attests to this, it feels like you're sitting in the back seat of the car. And in this car, it's not perfect, but it is one of the better seating positions that I've been in. First off, the steering wheel gives you lots of adjustment. You can adjust it back really far, which is what I need. Like, being able to move the steering wheel back is important, because my seat's so far back that if it's all the way forward, then I'm like basically stretching to reach the wheel. although it's not perfect, when I'm sitting in the car in a normal seating position, my arm actually goes on the armrest. You would be surprised how many cars the seat's so far back that your arm is basically at the pillar, and the armrest becomes almost unusable because you have to move your arm forward in an awkward position to actually put your damn arm on the armrest. So this car, although it's not perfect, I mean, it would be nice if it was just a little bit closer, but you know, you're not going to be able to fix that without essentially having a two-door that has this massive door. But for what it is, I fit quite well in here. I can't quite put my arm out of the window because of the pillar, so when my arm goes up, the pillar's more in the way, so I can't like comfortably like put my arm out the window and look cool. But that's not that big of a deal. I mean, I don't put my arm out of the window that often. So those are the things that I really like about the car. And it's a great family car. My kids love the car. They like going fast, and they like the WRX for that. So of course they like this even more. So so yeah, that's it. $700 a month, $40,000 for a $49,000 car, which is a great deal. And one caveat on that deal that I just wanted to make sure I pointed out is Chrysler was running a employee pricing, which I think was invoice minus 5% for Hurricane Harvey flood victims. And since I did have 2 cars that flooded, I not only got that lower price on the car, but I got the rebates that they were offering on the 2017s on top of that, which I think was about $3,500. So total, I got the discount that they put on the car, and then I got the $3,500 rebate, and then the dealership that I bought it from lowered the price again a little bit more. They're in Maryland, and they have a hard time selling these kind of cars because Maryland, snow, cold, traffic, it's just not, I guess, a place that's really common to have performance cars like these. So at least that's what they said, that they don't move them really quickly, so they were fine with giving me a great deal on this one, especially since it was a 2017 and it was a yellow, which turns off a lot of people as well. So they gave me a good deal on it. So all in all, I got $9,000 off this car, and I'm really happy with that. With that being said, so for $40,000, what else could I have gotten? And there's not a whole lot that I could have gotten that would be better than this car. I mean, given that it has like basically every luxury type feature that you would be looking for, and it's also really fast. So there's really no other cars. I mean, of course, I looked at getting an STI, another WRX. I just couldn't do that. As you know, I'm not really a huge fan of the STI, not until they come out with that new engine that I keep hearing about. And of course, a Type R would be a big no. And then from there, it's mostly just 2-door cars. And I like to be able to have my kids in the car. I like to be able to enjoy my car with my kids. So 2-door cars were just pretty much out of the equation. I know my Cadillac was a 2-door, but that was something I kind of always regretted. It works out well for me. I'm really happy with the car. And yeah, I think that's basically it. The only big downside I would say that this car has, and I'll make another video kind of just reviewing the car as a whole, but the big downside of this car is that the fuel economy is garbage. So I know I did a lot of testing on the highway, and I bragged about how great the highway mileage was, which it isn't bad. Last time I tested it was at 26, which the WRX got 30 in the same test, so that's actually really good. But around town, it is awful. I mean, like the WRX, even leaving it idling for a long time, driving in the city a whole bunch, the worst I saw was in the neighborhood of 17, 18 miles per gallon. This car, I've seen single digit numbers. I've seen 9, 8, depending on if you're just leaving it around town a long time, you're idling a lot. It gets really, really bad. So that part kind of sucks, but again, I'm saving so much money. Basically, between the 2 cars, what I was paying and insurance, I'm saving about $600 a month. So having this one car instead of the 2, it costs me $600 less a month. So if I spend an extra $100 a month on gas, big deal. Not that, not a concern at all, but I could see for some that would be a bigger concern. And the only thing that really bothers me about the fuel economy is that you got to fill it up more often. It has an 18-gallon tank, and that can go quick depending on how you're driving. The WRX had a 15-gallon, and it got, or almost a 16-gallon, and it got much better mileage. So yeah, it kind of sucks, but not the end of the world. So anyway, that's what I paid for the car. You guys can maybe tell me what kind of deals you got if you think that's a good deal. That's by far the best deal I could find. for one of these, especially one with these options. So, I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say like, oh, I know someone that got one for 35, but it's really about what the MSRP started at, because if you get a base model that starts at 40 and then you get it for 35, then yeah, of course, that's $5,000 off. That's great. You know, 4 or $5,000 off. That's not bad. But I got $9,000 off because this was a more expensive model. So anyway, I think that's about it for now. Peace.
Just a pilot in his cockpit seated. Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated. Weed is engaged in the pavement. Rubber escorts like I'm